Hi guys, so recently I have fallen in love with the TV series Downton Abbey. I think it's just such a good show. I would highly recommend it. It's set during the 19-teens, it's set during the First World War, so almost all of the characters were born in the later half of the 19th century, mid to late 1800s. So I thought that their names are very interesting, especially the girls' names. Most of the boys' names are just very classic, timeless names. The only thing is, the show is set in Britain, and I could only find the popularity stats for the late 1800s from the United States. So some of these names might have been even more popular in Britain, where the show is set, but I only have the data from the US. That said, I'm just going to go ahead and get started with the boys' names, and these names are very classic and traditional. The first one I have is Robert, and in 1880 Robert was number 10 in the United States, and I think it's a very, very classic name. I'm not sure if it's quite ready for a comeback yet, but it's a nice name and it means bright fame. The next name I have is Patrick, and Patrick is one that I haven't heard a lot recently. I know some Patricks who are my age, a little bit older maybe, but I haven't heard it on any little boys recently. In 1880 it was number 67 and it means noble. The next one I have is Cyril, and I think this is kind of a cool name. In 1880 it was number 941, so it wasn't very popular. It's a Greek name and it means lordly. Then I have Thomas, which is a very, very classic name. I still hear this name used all the time. In 1880 it was number 80, and Thomas is a Greek name that means twin. Another very classic name used in the show is William, and William was the second most popular name in 1880, and it means strong-willed warrior. Then I have Richard, which is another classic name that I don't hear that often, and I kind of like it. And in 1880 it was number 23, and it has a nice meaning. It means brave ruler. Then I have Andrew, another very, very classic name, and in 1880 Andrew was number 24. It's a Greek name and it means manly. Then I have Joseph, and Joseph was number 7 in 1880, and it's a Hebrew name that means God will increase. Another very classic name from the show is Henry, and in 1880 Henry was number 9, and it's a German name that means ruler of the home. And the last boy's name I have is Edward, and Edward is one that is gaining some popularity, but it's not super popular yet. In the next few years I think it might get more popular, but in 1880 it was number 11, so it was very popular, and it means wealthy guardian. So for girls, the first name I have is Cora, and Cora in the show is actually an American character, and in America in 1880 Cora was number 15, so it was quite popular, and Cora is a Greek name that means heart or maiden, and I've been hearing quite a few people talk about this name, so I think it is going to gain some popularity, along with similar names like Coralie. Then I have Violet, and Violet is another one that is gaining popularity. In 1880 it was number 239, and it is of course a flower name. Then I have Mary, and in 1880 Mary was number 1. It's a Hebrew name that means sea of bitterness, but it is no longer in the top 100. So if you're looking for something a little bit unique, Mary might actually be a good choice because it's not that popular anymore, and it has a lot of history, a lot of substance. I just love the name Mary. Then there's Edith, and this name has been growing on me. Edith was number 28 in 1880, and it means rich war. And then a name that I have started loving, mostly because of this character, but also just because it is such a cool name, I think, is Sybil. And Sybil wasn't in the top 1000 in 1880, but in 1881 it was number 815. It might have been higher in popularity in Britain, but I don't have the stats for that. And Sybil is a Greek name that means prophetess, and I just think it's very, very different, very spunky. Then I have Rosamond, and in the US in 1880, Rosamond was not in the top 1,000. It might have been in Britain. Rosamond is a German name that means horse protection. Then I have Daisy, and Daisy is just such a cute name. I think it makes a great middle name choice. And in 1880 it was number 48, and of course it is a flower name. Then I have Vera, and I think this one is very, very cool, definitely ready for a comeback. In 1880 it was at number 225, and it is a Russian name that means faith. Another one that's kind of grandma-ish, old lady sounding that I think might start making a comeback is Ethel. And Ethel was number 38 in 1880, and it means noble. Then I have Beryl, and Beryl is a gemstone name. I think it's pretty, although it does kind of sound like the word barrel. But that aside, I do think it's a lovely name, and in 1880 it was number 518. Then there's Jane, and I have never thought of Jane as being a plain or boring name because I don't really know anyone named Jane, so I find it somewhat unique. And Jane was number 98 in 1880. It's a feminine variation of John, and it's a Hebrew name that means God is gracious. And the last name I have is Marigold, and I just think this name is so sweet and spunky. You can use the nickname Mary, so it's not that out there, and it wasn't in the top 1,000 in 1880. Of course, it is a flower name. So let me know what you thought of these names. Let me know if you watched Downton Abbey because I'm obsessed with it, and I guess I will talk to you guys later. Bye.